Nadine Dorries is simply wonderful in so many ways as a writer. It's a hoot a minute. If you were to go to the first pages of her book, The Plot, you get a really good taste of Nadine Dorries at her best, at her literary best. She says, first of all, we need to know where this comes from. It comes from Marcus Tullius Cicero, speaking to the Roman Senate during the Catiline War, circa 40 BC. Let's hear what the great Cicero had to say. A nation can survive its fools, and even the ambitious, but it cannot survive treason from within. An enemy at the gates is less formidable, for he is known and carries his banner openly. But the traitor moves amongst those within the gate freely, his sly whispers rustling through the alleys, heard in the very halls of government itself. For the traitor appears not a traitor. He speaks in accents familiar to his victims, and he wears their face and their arguments. He appeals to the baseness that lies deep in the hearts of all men. He rots the soul of a nation. He works secretly and unknown in the night to undermine the pillars of the city. He infects the body politic so it can no longer resist. Oh, what wonderful stuff! What wonderful stuff! And you think, now, let me go back to my Latin textbook. Which speech of Cicero was that from? Well, I'm afraid Cicero never said it. The words actually come from a novel by the American author Taylor Caldwell. And Taylor Caldwell, a great lion of God, he wrote a book about St. Paul and St. Luke, and he wrote a book about Cicero. Long before Harris wrote his trilogy, brilliant books about Cicero. And it's some historical pulp fiction, and it's got nothing to do with what Cicero actually wrote, and she didn't bother to check it. But, there we are. That's the problem with Nadine Dorries, and that's why she is so hilarious. And she will always come forward with conviction and not a great deal of fact or thought. The idea goes in one ear and straight out of her mouth. And so whoever happens to have been talking to her last, that is what she repeats. It's like it's like having a parrot. And she's written this extraordinary book. She's written 16 books, I think, most of which I've read. I think I might have read all of them actually now. I'm a sucker for punishment. And the last one is called The Plot. The Plot. And you'd think that it's a political analysis. No, it's a book that involves interviews, but somehow everybody that she interviews speaks in the same sort of she has the same romantic fiction vocabulary that she puts into her novels. I mean, it's a page turner. It's a page turner. It's very different to a lot of her a lot of her Twitter feed, or at least it's very different to a lot of her Twitter feed when she was in Parliament. Now everything is getting much the same sort of vocabulary, much the same sentence length, and I must say her sentence lengths are quite modest. And I got quite modest when she was doing talk TV, because clearly she's not great on the auto cue. But she is great entertainment. I switch her on for the laugh. Somebody has rather unkindly said, wait a minute, did they say about her? No, they said about Rishi Sunak, that he was a boy band member on Autotone. But I think they could have said much the same sort of thing about Nadine Dorries, or indeed Suella Braverman. These people don't seem to have thoughts, and Nadine Dorries is at least open to ridicule. It's not that she doesn't say things which are of value. She does. When she's discussing the wallpaper of Boris Johnson, she points out that the wallpaper was, well, it was actually red. It was red. I don't know why anyone called it gold. But the gold sticks. And there's even a story about the time when Mr. Hunt finally got his hands on the wallpaper in that flat, and he realised it had all been painted over. Had it been painted over, or was that the colour that was actually there? It wasn't gold; it was some other colour. Anyway, Nadine Dorries is determined to press the idea that Kemi Badenoch is the project of the movement, and they're determined to slide her in, but not at this precise moment. They're determined to make life uncomfortable for Rishi Sunak, and in the process, of course, to ensure that he loses the next election. And then they will slot Kemi Badenoch in his place. She talks about political hedonism and narcissism. And then she says, just pipe down and get behind the Prime Minister. Absolutely. Absolutely. But these people are filled with their own sense of importance, as indeed is Nadine Dorries. But there we are. It's not going to change very much, is it? David Cameron said of Nadine Dorries that she was a much better novelist than a politician. I don't think he's read any of her work.